Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and we are now into the fall, the autumn, my most favorite season of all. I am so thrilled that it's here. The leaves are changing, it's starting to become hoodie weather, and what does that mean, guys? That means soups. That is right, we're gonna go to the Instant Pot and make a soup today. Now, if you know me, you know I have an affection for soups, and you know I have an incredible affection for French onion things, like French onion soup, French onion chicken, French onion risotto, all huge hits. Try them if you haven't, trust me on that. So today I decided to create a new variation of an onion soup and make, well, cream of onion soup. Now this soup is basically like the creamy brother or sister or mother-in-law to a French onion soup, but it's just divine on every level. It is out of this world delicious, and at the end, if you put some cheese in there, when you sprinkle it on top, you're gonna see it's gonna be ooey gooey, just to die for. Just some serious soup during the most perfect time of year to have it. So put on some hoodies and some sweatpants, cuddle on the couch with your family, watch some football, because you're about to make some of the best cream of onion soup, well, maybe the first cream of onion soup ever. Alright, so since I'm making cream of onion soup, I want to use a whole bouquet, variety of onions. I'm using 2 red onions, 2 Vidalia, I like the way I said that properly, Southern Vidalia, or sweet onions, it's the same thing, 2 yellow onions, and 2 Spanish onions. And I want to take all of these onions, and I'm going to be in tears after I chop them, so I'm just going to go the quick route. There we go, so much easier that way. And I'm just gonna cut them into like long strands. Just basically cut the onions into discs, then just slice them in half, and you're gonna have nice strands. And because snapping magical powers don't really exist, I wore these so I didn't get hysterical crying like I did when I watched Adrian wake up from a coma in Rocky 2. Onion goggles are awesome, and I'll link where you can get them in the recipe. I also want to take about 2 pounds worth of Idaho or russet potatoes, and then peel them and then cut them up into large chunks just like this. Now I'm going to go to the Instant Pot and I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and an entire stick or 8 tablespoons of salted butter. Yes, we're adding a whole stick because we have a lot of onions to cook. So let's come down to our control panel and hit the saute button and adjust so we're on the more or the high setting and get that butter all heated up and melted and the oil sizzling. And once the butter is melted and the oil is sizzling, we're going to add in all of our onions. And it's going to feel like a ton of onions, but they're going to cook down into nothing. And do it in batches, and then just stir around the onions with the butter and the oil. And then once you've stirred that around, add in the rest of the onions. And there we go, filled right to the brim. And now just stir everything around as best as you can to make sure everything gets nice and incorporated. It's going to be a little tricky because it's so filled, but believe me, it's necessary for this. This is a 6 quart. If you have an 8 quart, it'll obviously be a little easier to mix everything up. But onions cook down really into absolutely nothing. You're going to see this is going to reduce like to about 1/4 of the size of the pot. So after the onions have a chance to settle into the pot, we want to let this cook for 25 minutes until it gets nice and kind of syrupy and super like pasta-like. So again, stir and set for about 25 minutes. And then really scoop under the onions and try to just rearrange them so the ones on the bottom are now going to be on top. And the ones on the top are now going to be on the bottom. You know, be versatile with it. And this is after about 10 minutes, by the way. We're about halfway there, and we're about halfway reduced in terms of onion size. Look at that. It's great. It's almost going to become very soupy at the end, and that's exactly what we want it to do. And now 25 minutes have passed, and look at this. Our onions have reduced significantly. They were all the way up here before, and now they're down here, and it's almost like in this incredible buttery soupiness because the onions release tons of water, which is why they've shrunken so much, and now they're like a pasta-like consistency. Perfect. Now I want to add in a tablespoon of crushed garlic and stir that in with the onions, and then add my potatoes. Now, they might turn a little brown. That's fine if I do. It's just because of the oxygen. They're going to pressure cook anyway. Don't worry about it. And then stir the potatoes up with the onions. Okay, now I want to add in 5 cups of broth. I'm going to be using garlic broth. That's going to be 5 teaspoons of garlic better than bouillon mixed with 5 cups of water. Or if you can't get this stuff, I'll link where you can get it. A lot of supermarkets do carry it, but I'll link where you can get it online. You can use 5 cups of chicken broth. You can use 2.5 cups of chicken broth and 2.5 cups of garlic broth. Whatever you want to do. Just use 5 cups. And give that all a good stir, making sure the bottom of the pot is nice and smooth while we stir it in. I also want to add in a 1/2 cup of sherry wine. Now, if you don't feel like using this, you can just use another 1/2 cup of broth. But I love me some sherry. Oh, sherry. And now I'm going to season it up with a tablespoon of seasoned salt and 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. And this is the last ingredient we're adding before we're cooking, so it's about time. Give that all a final stir, get everything just nice and mixed together in there, and folks, we are now ready to pressure cook. Alright, let's add the lid. secure my lid, make sure that I'm in sealing position. Let's come down here and hit the keep warm cancel button, or just the cancel button depending on your model, and then hit the pressure cook or manual button depending on your model. And we want to go, guys, for 10 minutes on high pressure, and that's it. And as an added bonus, if you guys want some really nice caramelized brown onions to put on top of your soup when we're done as a nice garnish, or just to mix it in with the soup, you can totally take about 2 to 3 onions, whether it be Vidalia or yellow, and then just cut them into strands like we did before. Throw a little bit of olive oil in a skillet on the stovetop, and then just saute for about 20 minutes. And you can totally do this in tandem with the soup while it's cooking, and nothing really browns an onion as well as a skillet does. Not quite as good as a pressure cooker does. And we'll just do this for 20 minutes. And once we're looking like this, where we're almost charred in some edges here, the little blackness in there, that's exactly how we want it. These onions are beautiful, and they've cooked down very, very much so. Almost like a quarter of what we began with. Alright, so just turn the heat off and set them aside for now. And now that we're done cooking, we're going to do a quick release. And the pin just dropped, so let's take the lid off. And there's our soup as it's been pressure cooked. This is not the final result yet. What we want to do is take a slotted spoon and then take out some of the onions, reserve them. We want to reserve about 1.5 to 2 cups worth of the onions. And the onions only, don't worry about the potatoes. We want the potatoes still in the pot. I'm just going to set this aside and reserve that. Alright, and now it is time to puree our soup. With an immersion blender, of course. Honestly, these things are so convenient because you don't have to transfer all the soup into a blender and then clean the blender out. It just, everything is done right in the pot, and I'll link where you can get one of these. They're super fairly priced. Let's blend. Also, make sure you get all the potatoes in there because we don't want any potato chunks. It should be a nice puree. Alright, and we are looking perfect. Blending complete. Now let's thicken this up a bit by adding in 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. And let's stir that in to thicken it up a little bit. And now let's add in our onions again that were not blended. A cup of 50/50 or heavy cream. And one final finishing touch, which is totally optional, but I absolutely love it, and I feel like this really sets it over the top, is to add in some, you got it, boursin. I love this stuff, what can I tell you? 5.2 ounce little thing of boursin, any flavor you want, the garlic and fine herbs, the shallot and chives, there's a pepper one, there's a whole bunch of them. I'm gonna add one of these in there. You don't have to do this, but I really think it's gonna set it over the top. You can just add it in small crumbles into the Instant Pot. Obviously use clean hands, or you can just cut it with a knife, but I have clean hands normally. And now stir that in with everything else until all the boursin is totally melded. A whisk is also your friend, by the way, if you want to whisk it up a little bit. And we are looking perfect. And now just 2 more finishing touches. A teaspoon of garlic salt. Not garlic powder, garlic salt. And that's 2 tablespoons of onion powder. And because I love the dang thing so much, some chives that I've chopped up. And there we have it, guys. Cream of onion soup. Did you ever think you'd see the day? Anyway, let's serve this into some bowls and then try it out. And now let's ladle in some soup. And guys, a little tip for you, just because the full-bodied onions that we've added back to the pot might be difficult to just find and scoop out, take a slotted spoon, take a nice scoopful with it, and then just sift it. Like, you know, you're in California during the gold rush and looking for gold, and guess what? Gold you are gonna find, and some delicious onions. Just take that and then just pour it on top of your bowled soup, and then presto, delicious full-bodied onions. And by the way, because this is also a creamier version of a French onion soup, if you want to add some cheese, by all means, feel free. You could add some shredded Swiss, some shredded mozzarella, really whatever you want, and just sprinkle it on the top for some garnish. And now if you've done that extra step of caramelizing those onions on the skillet, look at this, guys. Look at this amazing garnish it's going to add to the top. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, does that really offset everything there. Gorgeous. Not a requirement, but well worth the extra step in my opinion. Alright, let's eat. And here's our beautiful cream of onion soup. And look at that, with the cheese in there, look at how the cheese melts and just gets oh, look at this, look at this. Alright, I am so ready, let's go. I mean, first of all, never eat this on a date. Guys, this soup is off the charts. It's off the charts. Definitely, hands down, one of my favorite soups that I've ever made. Picture a classic French onion soup. Check my other recipe out for that too, by the way. It's fantastic. And then put a spin on it by making it a cream of onion. It's like the creamier sister, done bowl style. But you can totally put this in a crock and do the whole cheese on the top with the croutons and the bread too. But guys, look at this. To die for soup. It's mesmerizing. It's a mesmerizing soup. Pure bliss. Definitely add the cheese, in my opinion. Add that cheese at the end. The flavors going on in here are just something else. You have the onions that were just sauteed in that delicious butter and oil in the beginning. Then you threw in some of the delicious potatoes that makes it nice and thick in the consistency, with all the broth mixed together and the seasonings, and then adding that boursin, which I also strongly recommend that you do. It's just an unbelievable, outrageous, oniony, creamy soup. Not too overpowering though. It's not like onion central, but there's no denying that this is an onion soup. Just a creamy variation of it. Oh yeah. Guys, if you enjoy these recipes, go to pressureluckcooking.com because I have a ton of them there. They run the gamut from vegan to carnivore, from healthy to comfort. You can pin any recipe you want to any board. Go to facebook.com/pressureluckcooking and like that page every time a new recipe comes out for tips, humor, advice, just great stuff, sales on items. You don't want to miss that. And subscribe to me on YouTube because all my videos live there, easily found. Check that out. And also Pinterest, Instagram, and Twitter. And guys, you better bring an appetite the size of Paul Bunyan when you try my cream of onion. Oh, look at this! Here we go. Mmm.